should Serbs in northern Kosova have the same rights as Albanians have in what is now southern Serbia? Yeah, you heard that right. Let's take a look at what we Albanians would have to do in order to treat our minorities how Serbia treats theirs. And for those who already follow me, you all know I made a table to make it easier to understand the differences. I'll explain what it all means in a second. Because let me make myself crystal clear. I believe that Albanians and Serbs should have the same exact human rights. And since I'm against ethnic cleansing, I don't think we should follow Serbia's model. But let me know which you prefer after doing your own research and finding out that every single thing I said was true. First, let's talk numbers. The latest Serbian census from 2022, although it looks manipulated considering that the first count showed almost 100,000, so far shows that there are 61,687 Albanians living in what is now southern Serbia, while it is estimated that there are around 50,000 Serbs in northern Kosova, and we know that at least 45,000 of them are registered as voters. Both sides estimate around 100,000 overall. The Serb minority, however, has boycotted our census since 2011, so there's no reliable number of exactly how many there are, or I would be happy to include it. That's why I mention how many are registered and what the claim is on both sides, for all fairness. Our population consists of around 92% Albanians and at least 5 other minorities that make up 8% of our population. They are all represented on our flag too, which is a whole other discussion I've made another video about. Serbs amount to between 2 or 4%. However, it may come as a surprise that it is not the large majority of Albanians, but the Serbs that enjoy the most benefits here. I say that because they don't pay taxes. Many who work in the public sector receive double paychecks from both Serbia and Kosova, and none of them have paid for electricity in the last 20 years. This means that the rest of us pay the bills for the Serb minority, amounting to more than 40 million euros each year for electricity alone. That also goes for anyone who owns property in Kosova, so the large diaspora too, because they also pay property taxes and electricity bills and so on, because everyone should. So not just the citizens who live here. Some of them thank us for this kind donation by mining crypto, such as Bitcoin, because it's obviously very profitable when electricity is free, as is producing drugs. But let's get back to some recent initiatives we've had, because all the Serbs who live here aren't actually criminals. Recently, we have completed restoration of Orthodox sites in Kosova, and we have restored 4 traditional houses in Prizren that belonged to Serbs. We have funded organizations for book publishing and sports, as well as cultural and artistic activities. We've offered subsidies for families with only one worker that currently supports 115 Serb families. We've helped establish 48 small businesses too. We've also doubled our aid in employment of Serbs since last year. There's a lot more. Learn all of it here in this video. It's even in Serbian. Now let's take a little look at how Serbia treats the Albanian minority in Serbia. Albanians live in Prešev, Bujanovac and Medved, and they have always lived there, as most of this area was a part of Kosova. Of course, this is also the poorest area of Serbia now, and no efforts are made to make the living conditions better. So even the Serbs are moving away, as are Albanians. There is no Albanian hospital or university, and to make matters worse, Albanian diplomas are not recognized. So anyone with a degree from Kosova can't get a job in the public sector. So even though there's no university for them, they cannot even cross the border to study. They have to go further away. And no, we are not allowed to build or manage universities or hospitals in Serbia, so we can't do anything about it, nor are we allowed to invest in the area, although many have tried. Furthermore, the main factories where Albanians used to work, for example the tobacco factory, have all been closed down. So this constant circle of poverty and no access to education obviously forces the Albanians to move away, obviously done on purpose, but I'll circle back to that when I talk about the passivization of residential addresses. In contrast, the northern part of Kosova, where the majority of Serbs live, is one of the richest areas. They have their own hospital, healthcare system, and university. But on top of that, they receive funding and investments from Serbia and Kosova. Our parliament also reserves 10 seats only for Serbs, no such measures for Albanians in Serbia. But hey, we currently have one Albanian member of parliament who was voted in by Albanians, so let's see how long that lasts. I can go on and on about the rights of Serbs, but let me keep it short. They enjoy all equal rights, as they should, which also means they can raise their flag as much as they want to. For Albanians living in Serbia, it is illegal to raise our flag, even on Flag Day, and I can't even imagine what would happen if we started attacking Serbian police officers, who also, by the way, come in just to scare people once in a while. Now, let's talk about the ongoing ethnic cleanse of Albanians. This isn't an opinion, it is based on this report from the Helsinki Committee for Human Rights in Serbia, as well as the published research from Flora Ferrote Saxenmeier. So, to reduce the number of Albanians living there, Serbia has implemented something called the passivization of residence of Albanians. When an address is passivized and removed from the registry book in Serbia, the people who live there no longer exist. They cannot renew their ID card or passport, register a car, have access to healthcare or social services, buy or sell property, or vote in local or general elections. Ironic, huh? This comes in handy when there are elections, because now 6,000 Albanians aren't allowed to vote. Now, how does Serbia carry this out? There must be some heavy procedures beforehand, right? Because this can't be legal. Well, the Serbian police can apparently knock on your door, and if you don't open, they can decide that you do not live there. It only takes one visit. This usually happens during the day when people are at work, and this method of testing residency applies exclusively to Albanians. The bigger catch is that they don't tell you that you have lost your residency, and the right to appeal is 8 days. So Albanians only find out that they have been passivized when they need a new ID or medical care, or when they renewed their passport, or when paying taxes. And then it's too late to ever get registered again. Not only that, the Ministry of Internal Affairs of Serbia also sends information about invalid documents to Interpol, which prevents citizens from coming into Serbia if they have gone out to work or on holiday, and Interpol then deports them to Kosova. Very interesting that it is the Serbs that are raising the number of Albanians here, huh? Here are a few life stories shared in the report, as well as the terrifying story of the 78-year-old Shechir Simone, who committed suicide after the Serbian police illegally deprived him of his Serbian citizenship, and thus he lost his right to his pension, which he had acquired by living in Serbia his whole life. The authorities decided that he doesn't live in his house while he was in the hospital for treatment in Pristina, and thus not at his address. Remember what I said about there being no Albanian hospitals in the other part? It all ties together. This alone should be enough for all of it to stop, but it doesn't end there. And here are some other stories shared in the report as well. There's a lot more I can talk about, like the extremely low level of education in the schools in Serbia, because they control what books Albanian kids are allowed to read. So the books that are financed by Kosova are then translated to Serbian and then back to Albanian again after being censored. They've even detained trucks of Albanian books from Albania at the border, and then we have their biased media, how they've shut down Albanian businesses. But honestly, I urge all of you to do the research yourself and speak up about it, especially if you live in Serbia, especially if you are a Serb, because Albanians are not allowed to protest. And 6,000 are not allowed to vote, so look out for who you vote for. Because what it essentially comes down to is that Albanians are just asking for basic human rights. That's also what we asked for before the genocide in the 90s, when we were segregated in our own country. But let's try to do better in 2023. I hope you all learned something, and I hope that Albanians will have the same rights as Serbs soon.